there has been breaking news today, and we've got a lot to get through. So I thought I would come on a little bit early. Hey, Chris. I would come on a little bit earlier just to update. Summer, you're supposed to be out with the girls. Fuck off. And I mean that with love. Unless you're all in the restaurant sat around. I knew you had a few minutes. Exactly, Ellen. Sorry. Back. Where are we? Yes. There's been stuff happening in the United States of America today because, well, it's a Monday, so I think we're about due a shooting, a mass shooting. And unfortunately, I'm sorry if this is breaking news to anybody. There has been a firearms incident in San Diego. I listened to the press conference, which was 10 p.m. British summertime, and my assistants just brought me the essential Diet Cola because he is a very lovely assistant. Because genetically he's 50% me, so you know, he's got good genes. Well, 50% good genes. Anyway, back to the serious matter. So, San Diego, there was a press conference at 10 p.m. British summertime. That is, I believe, 2 p.m. local San Diego time. Is that Pacific time? Not entirely sure of, I can't do the time conversions. I can barely work out what to do when the clocks go back and forward. Anyhow, I made some notes while I was trying to listen to the press conference because I don't want people to be sitting there thinking, well, hang on, there's bigger things than this going on in the world. And you're absolutely right. There are. This is horrible, horrific, tragic. When are you going to sort your guns out? That's enough from me. So the latest as of 2 p.m. Pacific. That's ET, not no CT. There's an 8 hours. It's -8 hours for Chris time, isn't it? And San Diego's the same time as California. Am I right? It's 6 hours from you. Oh, it's CT. Oh, it's not quite that far. Okay. So it was 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock this afternoon. I'm with you. Anybody, if you want to know what time the press conference actually was, put 10 p.m. British summertime in and then do the conversion because I'm just hopeless at it. I know, Ellen. It just breaks my heart. And hearing the poor imam speak at the end, just in absolute shock that anybody would want to do something like this. Hey, Bob, we're just going over what's happened in San Diego, just what we know officially. Okay. So I figured it was 2 p.m. Pacific time, Laura. I just don't know where San Diego is. Clearly, I thought it was over there with San Francisco and all that good stuff. So yeah, figure it out. Okay, 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what San Diego comes under. You know my geography's not the best. If there hasn't been a serial killer in a part of the United States, I've probably never heard of it. Or a really good AA speaker, because I've heard of them as well, like Billings, Montana. Just want to go to Billings, Montana, because there's a wonderful, wonderful speaker called John S. And he uplifts my spirit whenever I listen to him speak about his journey through alcoholism and into recovery. But I'm digressing again. You ready for the main points from the press conference before we kick off with tonight's topic? So, as of whatever time that was, I think some nice people have been doing the maths in the chat. This is what we know. So the San Diego Police Department gave a press conference. They confirmed that both of the people they believe to be the suspects have been located and are deceased. The shooting took place in the Islamic Center in San Diego, which also has a school as part of the, what's the word? Complex, part of the complex. They have confirmed that all the children at the school were safely evacuated and the threat was neutralized. I.e., there was no ongoing risk to the public as far as they were aware. Unfortunately, there are 3 confirmed deaths at the scene, adult males. The Islamic Center does have its own security team, and it is feared that one of the dead adult males was a security officer doing his very best to prevent further tragedy. There is CCTV available and currently being reviewed. The details are as follows. 11:43 local time, the San Francisco Police Department received an active shooter call. 11:47, so within 4 minutes of that call, officers were on the scene. When they arrived, they observed 3 lifeless bodies in the car park in front of the Islamic Center, with an awful lot of blood around them, and feared that those people had lost their lives. They immediately deployed into the school to try and ascertain whether the threat was ongoing. They did not engage with the shooters in the car park. It's not clear whether the shooters were still in the car park when they arrived or whether they'd fled the scene. But what they encountered was a horrific scene in front of the Islamic Center, and they made entry immediately to ascertain whether there was any ongoing threat to the people inside the Islamic Center. According to the spokesman from the San Francisco Police Department, the teams were deployed and went from room to room doing a thorough search. There were between 50 and 100 officers engaged in this room-by-room search, and they managed to evacuate the children successfully. They then, at almost the same time, more calls were received by the San Diego Police Department of more active gunfire a couple of blocks away. Another team were deployed where they found that a landscaper, just doing his work, was shot at, but thankfully, mercifully, not hit and therefore not injured in any way. Officers checked the scene and did the evidence gathering, but the person who had fired the shot was not on the scene when they arrived at that particular scene. Very shortly thereafter, and again just blocks away, a vehicle was found kind of not abandoned, but just across the street, not how you would, it wasn't parked and it wasn't going anywhere. It was just kind of in the middle of the street. And inside that vehicle, unfortunately, were 2 deceased males believed to have died from self-inflicted gunshot wounds, but that's just the preliminary assessment of the scene. The BBC reported the shooters as being 2 teenage males, and the spokesman for the San Diego Police Department confirmed that at this stage they believe the gentleman. See you later, Ellen. Catch us on the replay. We look forward to seeing you next time. And yeah, wishes, prayers, thoughts, all those things, because that's all we can do because we don't make the laws. Hey, Igor. You just sneaked in. Sorry. It's lovely to see you, but big, heavy stuff. Yes, the San Diego Police Department did confirm that according to their earliest assessments, they believe the two deceased males in this abandoned vehicle are 17 and 19 years of age, both males, both deceased from gunshot wounds, not inflicted by law enforcement. They were found that way. At this time, the motive is unknown, unfortunately. These things don't just happen out of nowhere. Obviously, they are appealing for anyone who knows anything to please get in touch. They have set up a reunification centre on Hathaway. If any of you are affected or know anybody who's affected, hopefully all the little ones are happily reunited with their parents. But the reunification centre is on Hathaway, and that's where all the children were taken to keep them safe, so that their parents could come and collect them. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's everything. Early stages, limited information. They will be holding another press conference 2 hours after that. So around about nowish, there should be another press conference, and there will be a Spanish version available. I couldn't quite tell whether the now press conference is just in Spanish or if it's an update which will also be in Spanish. But for you bilingual people, knock yourselves out. I'll be there as soon as I can, but I'm only up to level 28 in Duolingo. So, my Spanish is getting there, but it's probably not enough to understand a press conference by the police, sorry. The FBI are involved because with it being an Islamic center, there is the possibility that it's a hate crime. And there are various agents, as you would expect, processing the various scenes involved. They've appealed to the public for help, and their tip line is at fbi.gov for those of you more comfortable doing it online, and 1-800-CALL-FBI for those who prefer to use the old-fashioned version. The mayor also spoke to give huge thanks to the law enforcement partners. He was very happy with the response. Everyone did an awesome job, and their thoughts, prayers, and condolences are with the families of those affected by the awful, awful tragedy. He confirmed, quote, "Hate has no place in the city of San Diego," end quotes. And at the end of that press conference, they kindly invited the imam of the Islamic Center to speak. And as I say, he just looked like he was in shock. He was saddened, devastated, trying to look after his congregation. And yeah, that's he didn't take any questions, which is, I think, fair enough at this stage. So by the time we come off our session today, there should be updates, but I mean, that was a pretty comprehensive, considering it was only, 2 hours, couple of hours after the incident. You interrupt all you like. Is it your birthday? It's Tamara's birthday. Yay! Oh, I do have YouTube. I'm on the YouTube. I've got 50 followers. Can you believe it? I was watching Wajahit Ali earlier with Alison Gill, who I just adore. She's awesome sauce. And he was saying that apparently he's almost up to 100,000 followers on YouTube. And I typed in the chat, I just hit 50. That's 50 followers, not 50,000. I was excited. Anyway, happy birthday to Tamara. I hope you've been having a lovely day, and I'm sorry to spoil it with bad news. Hopefully you came in after we did the case has dropped, but they're still trying to do the slush fund. Yeah. It'll be interesting to find out the updates. We will see where we are on Thursday, because that might be something that we have a look at the mamas meeting. Yeah, no slush fund. I don't have a whole script on paper because somebody likes to play with the printer when it's duplexing and it comes out and then sucks back in. He takes it as a challenge to try and grab it. Unfortunately, today he grabbed it, ripped part of the printer off, and now I have no printer. So I'm going to try and read it from the screen. And if that works, I mean, awesome sauce, we can save the planet a little bit. But I am a bit of a boomer when it comes to reading. I do prefer it to be on paper in front of me. Well, no, I do prefer it if somebody's reading it in my ear, but that just doesn't work for this setup. So we have to have it in written form somewhere. So, my lovelies, are we all okay with that? Are we all up to date on the awful news coming out of San Diego today? That will do absolutely nothing to do anything to change the gun laws, unfortunately. All righty. Well, hello, Cheeky. We're just talking about you. It is midnight in the UK. I am still Mama, and we are live on Substack. And the cafe is open. So pull up your comfy chair or your beanbag, grab yourself that warm milky drink, adult beverage, fizzy pop, soda, whatever you call it. Wrap yourself in that snuggly woggly blanket, and I will begin. Special welcome to all our new Mamacitas, and a huge welcome back to anyone who's been here before. It's so good to have you here. Cup of tea, cup of coffee. Nice, nice. Whatever gets you through tomorrow. DDP, Diet Dr. Pepper. Come on, Igor, you've got to get up with the lingo. That's Laura's poison. Okay. So, tonight we're going to have a look at Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Dictator and the Attorney General auditions. So, as we all know, Pam Bondi is gone. Donald Trump fired her on the 2nd of April 2026, and since then, the race to fill the most powerful law enforcement job in the United States has turned rather into something that looks less like a recruitment process and more like a televised audition for an audience of one. Tonight, we're doing the runners and riders. We're looking at who wants the job, what they've done to earn it, what skeletons, that's like skeletons, only not the same, but what skeletons even are rattling in their respective closets, and crucially, why Mr. Trump has every incentive to keep stringing them along for as long as is humanly possible. Because every single day that decision is unmade, every day these people are publicly performing their loyalty acts, publicly burning their reputations, publicly compromising themselves for the audience of one, is a day that Donald J. Trump has full control over the Justice Department without the inconvenience of a Senate confirmation hearing. And whoever eventually gets the job walks in already so compromised, they will never, ever bite the hand that feeds them. That is not a bug, ladies and gentlemen. That is the whole design. You know, when you watch one of those talent shows and there's this moment where the judges have eliminated everyone down to the final few and the remaining contestants are just there, standing in a line, smiling, desperately, willing the judges to pick them, like their entire identity depends on approval from just one very powerful man. Yeah, that's your United States Department of Justice. Welcome to the show. And I don't mean, the Midnight Cafe. I mean the Department of Justice show. You'd sort of think it wasn't supposed to be a show, but turns out it is. So let's have a look at the runners and riders, because Pam Bondi has been escorted from the building, ladies and gentlemen. And apparently, did you know this? Apparently, her portrait was reportedly found in a bin. Uh-huh, uh-huh. I'm not even shitting you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hello. How the mighty have fallen. I couldn't make this stuff up, which is lucky because I don't need to. It's all there. And now, like some cursed reality TV casting call, at least 4 people are jostling for the privilege of being the next person Donald Trump uses and discards as the nation's chief law enforcement officer. We're going to have a quick look at all of them and see who we think are the most likely winners and losers. And I don't know whether that means they get the job or they don't. I mean, in my heart, they're all losers. We'll look at their CVs, their alleged crimes, and what they have going in their favor, but also what they've got against them getting the job, not as actual human beings, because we'd be here all night. And then at the end, we're going to talk about what does any of this actually mean for something called the rule of law. And I warn you, ladies and gentlemen, that is not a terribly comfortable conversation. Right, let's get into it. Yummy. So, quick recap for our newer mamacitas because context matters and we do not say it if we cannot show it. That's the whole shtick here at the Midnight Cafe. We bring the receipts. On the 2nd of April 2026, Donald Trump fired Pam Bondi as Attorney General. He did it on Truth Social, obviously, because how else would you make HR decisions, right? He called her a, quote, great American patriot, while simultaneously showing her the door. So, not that great. She did not have a job lined up. She wasn't going to be the, I don't know, Iron Man of, I don't do superheroes. Somebody help me out. You know, what are they called? Marvel, DC. I don't know what the different groups of superheroes are. But she's not going to be one anyway, unlike, what's her face? Tulsi. Is it Tulsi? No, Tulsi's still in her job, isn't it? It was, I can't even remember her flipping name, the one who got sacked, the Ice Woman. Ice Woman. Avengers. Thank you. Avengers. That's Peace Rally Coordinator. Yeah. So she, according to CNN, does not have any job lined up. Why was she fired? Gnome. That's it. Gnome. Yeah. Crusty gnome. Oh, how quickly we move on. So why was Ms. Bondi fired? Well, you all know 2 reasons broadly. Number 1, the Epstein files. She'd gone on television and promised the world transparency. She handed out binders labeled Epstein files to conservative influencers. You probably remember seeing them standing there with their files and feeling like Billy Big Bollocks. But we all know there was nothing in. According to reporting, those binders contained almost 0 new information. 3 million pages still withheld, roughly half of what the Department of Justice holds. The bipartisan authors of the Epstein Files Transparency Act said she was potentially breaking the law, and I am not going to argue with them. Survivors were furious and heartbroken and victimized all over again. And Trump, whose own name appears in connection with Epstein, although he has denied any wrongdoing and claims to have been completely exonerated, apparently, allegedly, not in my opinion. But apparently he was livid at how she handled it. And yes, don't forget, as we speak, they are doing a live streamed reading of the Epstein files from the reading rooms. If somebody can find a link for anybody who wants to go, and I said yesterday, even if you just click the link while you're in the loo, you're going to push up the views on the algorithm and do the things and just show that you cared enough. Thank you, Tamara. Yeah, so if anybody's got a link to the live stream of the reading of the Epstein files from the library, that would be great. Thank you very much, Miss Chris. Oh, you're so good. And we will try and put it in the show notes when I put them up, but it's only going to go on until midday tomorrow. So, but there's still plenty of time to click on and go show your support, because we all wish we could do more. Oh, wow. Love Joyce Vance. Anywho, where were we? Oh, yes, Miss Bondi. Reason number 2. Trump wanted more prosecutions of his political enemies. Bondi, whatever else you might say about her, has not delivered the convictions. Juries were not playing ball, and Trump does not accept that as an answer. And if anybody wants to catch that live stream we just mentioned, check out the chat. There's a few people who are putting links where you can go and join in and support those victims. So please do, if you've got a couple of minutes when you've got your phone in your hand and nothing more important to do. So Pam's out. Deputy AG Todd Blanche is in as acting AG, and he can legally hold that role for how many days, everybody? 210. I know you were all typing 210, but we got a lot to get through. That's not an accident. That is a window. And into that window, at least 4 people are currently staring very, very hopefully. So that brings us to the audience of one theory, which I firmly stand behind. Before we get to the candidates, I want you to hold on to something. This is the thing that pulls the whole story together. Trump has absolutely zero incentive to make this appointment quickly. Think about it. Right now, today, the Department of Justice is run by a man who was Trump's personal criminal defense lawyer. Conflict of interest, I hear you say. I don't know. I couldn't possibly suggest that, but you may think that. He's defending Trump's interests from inside the department, in my opinion. He will not rock the boat. He cannot rock the boat. He is holding the boat steady with both hands, feet, and his teeth. And meanwhile, every single person who wants that permanent job is out here publicly, loudly performing, saying whatever they think Trump wants to hear, making statements on the record that they can never walk back, publicly burning any last shred of independence they might have once had, because that's what this audition requires. And whoever eventually gets the job walks in already so compromised, so publicly indebted, so visibly captured, that they will never, ever be able to act as anything other than Trump's personal attorney with a federal badge and a very large budget. Thank you very much. The audition is the compromise. That's the design. Ready to meet the contestants? I think we should. Candidate 1, obviously the incumbent acting Attorney General. 1, Mr. Todd Blanche. Now, the prediction market odds, I know you're all doing your insider trading, putting your millions and billions on the stock market and making lots and lots of money out of other people's misery. So just so you know, prediction market odds for Todd Blanche around 24%. You okay? 24%. So who is he? Todd Blanche is 51 years old, a former federal prosecutor out of the Southern District of New York, which, for those keeping score, is the very office historically most active in investigating one Donald Jessica Trump. And we did do a deep dive, so if you want to know more in depth about Todd Blanche, check out that video. But after more than a decade as a government prosecutor, he moved into private practice, and then in 2023, he left all that to found Blanche Law, whose primary and only client at the time was one Donald Jessica Trump. You will remember, I'm sure, because he certainly made an impression. I was going to say made an arse of himself, but, you know, that would be speculative, subjective. He made an impression. I don't think any of us will forget Todd Blanche from the Hush Money case, where he defended Donald Jessica, the one that ended in conviction on 34 felony counts. So well done, Todd. Good job there. He was there in court on the day that his client was found guilty. He also defended Trump in both of the Jack Smith federal cases, which, as we know, were subsequently dropped after Trump won re-election, and the Justice Department decided conveniently not to prosecute a sitting president. Why? Because it's better to have a criminal running the country? I'm sorry, make this make sense, people. I'm sorry. A step back. In early 2025, Trump nominated Blanche as Deputy Attorney General, number 2 at the DOJ, which was confirmed by the Senate in March 2025. When Bondi was fired, Trump slid him up the slippery pole directly into the acting top job. So, what of his audition performances? Blanche has been doing the most visible public auditioning of any of our candidates, largely because he's been inside the building doing it. The Epstein files. Oh, the Epstein files. Well, we all know his personal highlight when it comes to the Epstein files. Blanche personally conducted the interview with Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted co-conspirator, during which Maxwell helpfully said she had never seen Donald Jessica behave inappropriately around Epstein. He then led the DOJ's public defense of its Epstein file releases, saying on television that the review was, quote, over, and the DOJ had, quote, released all the files. He said this while, by his own admission, holding back 3 million pages. Just 3 million. What's 3 million pages between friends, right? He then described his wish to move on from the Epstein issue entirely. I know, damn those victims and survivors and their whining about justice and accountability. How unreasonable. That's sarcasm, just to be clear. He's also been the man at the microphone defending the department every time it's used the justice system to go after Trump's perceived political enemies, and defending it when those cases fall apart at the seams. He has publicly attacked Jack Smith, who I know our core team think is an absolute diamond and a paragon of virtue when it comes to upholding the rule of justice. He's attacked him on social media because, of course, that's what we do in this professional administration, from inside the Department of Justice, calling him, quote, a proven liar. I seem to remember that wasn't proven. In fact, it was proved that he didn't lie. But okay, whatever, Toddy, whatever. He's used his government platform to continue the work he used to do as Trump's private lawyer. He's just changed buildings. And then there's the Kilmer Abrego Garcia situation. The Salvadorian man the Trump administration wrongly deported. We all know the story, and we're all praying that they will give this poor guy a break and leave him the hell alone. Blanche made public comments about that case, now being used by Abrego's lawyers to argue that the criminal charges brought against him were retaliatory. Blanche nearly had to testify about it in court in Tennessee. And wouldn't we have enjoyed that? Oh, yes, we would. God, come on, make it happen if you're not busy. I know there's wars and terrible things and stuff, but we'd really like that. So, conflict of interest much, I hear you scream. Well, yes, they deserve their own section because they are spectacular. As acting AG, Blanche is now in control of the release of the records that could implicate his own conduct. Yeah, not just his favorite former client, his own conduct. He conducted the Maxwell interview. He made the calls on what got released and what did not. He is now the man deciding whether to investigate any of that. Ambassador Norm Eisen, all hail Norm, we love Norm, of the Democracy Defenders Fund, put it plainly. No government employee should be allowed to decide whether to release or withhold records that may implicate themselves. Yeah, stick him back in the volcano. I don't think he's made it out from the first time he went in. That is, Eisen said, a clear and unacceptable conflict of interest. Blanche has been called to recuse himself. Shockingly, he hasn't, because he's so independent and so non-partisan. Yeah. There is also the small matter that Trump is seeking the settlement that we spoke about in the chitter-chatter before we started tonight's episode. He's looking for $23 million in the settlement from the Justice Department over past investigations they conducted into him. And there's obviously the IRS stuff that's basically just a front to create this slush fund. Anyway, when it comes to the Department of Justice settlement, the man overseeing that department previously represented Trump personally in those very cases. So the guy deciding are you with me? Trump is suing basically the guy that he represents the organization, and he represented the. Make it make sense, folks. That's not a conflict of interest, in my opinion. That is a conflict of interest, wearing a conflict of interest as a hat, standing in a room full of conflicts of interest. Am I right? It's just my opinion. You decide. So, let's have a look at Todd's scorecard, shall we? In his favour, he's already in the chair. Incumbency is always an advantage. Trump knows exactly what he's getting. A man who's staked everything. He loves Trump. He will love Trump if he kicks him in the bollocks and calls him Wendy. That may not be an exact quote, but he said something very similar. No offense to any Wendy's out there. Perfectly lovely name. It's just the first one that popped into my head. He's already Senate confirmed once, so he wouldn't need a second confirmation. He has managed the DOJ's Epstein messaging and to apparent satisfaction with the great leader. And he does have genuine legal experience as a former SDNY prosecutor and private attorney. And we talked about that. And we talked about how once upon a time, he seemed like a decent egg. What happened? Well, that's not for me to say. What's working against Todd then? So that's what's in his favor. What's he got against him? Well, Democrats have named him as their current prime target over the Epstein file handling, and quite rightly so. Conflicts of interest so glaring, they may be legally untenable if challenged in court. He was the public face of the Epstein releases, so if that story resurfaces, so does he. And his own quote. Oh, this is the actual quote. Sorry, I got it slightly wrong, but much the same. If Trump doesn't pick him, he'll say, quote, "Thank you very much. I love you, sir." I think that's the same as kick me in the bollocks and call me Wendy. You decide. He may just be seen as a placeholder and lacking in authority to see major prosecutions through to conclusion. So that's where we are with Todd. Anybody know who else is in the running? And I'll say hi to Kim as well. So next up, you may have an idea of one or two, but I'm gonna put you out of your misery. The next one, and probably the front runner as far as the prediction markets are concerned. So get your pens and papers and write this one down. Yes, Harmeet is coming, Kim. Good shout. Well done, you. 5 points for Kim on whatever points tally we're running today. So Lee Zeldin, he is the current, yes, Harmeet, just hang. Harmeet is coming. She's not as popular, and I use that word advisedly, a choice as Mr. Zeldin. He is the current EPA administrator, and the prediction market gives him around 40 to 55% chance of getting the job. No, she's not available. She's in the volcano. Maybe we should put Lee Zeldin in. I will tell you all about him and you can decide. So, Lee Zeldin is 46 years old. I know who. I'll tell you who. He is qualified as a lawyer, and he qualified and then at age 23 he became the youngest attorney in New York State at that time. So bit of a child protege. He's also an army veteran with a 22-year military career, including military intelligence and a deployment to Iraq. He served in the New York State Senate and then in Congress, representing New York's 1st District from 2015 to 2023. He then ran for governor of New York and lost. He subsequently ran a crisis management and public relations firm, and Trump appointed him EPA administrator at the start of Trump 2.0. Now, at the EPA, Zeldin has described his mission as the single largest deregulatory action in United States history. Well, there's a shocker. Damn those pesky regulations that, keep people sticking to the laws and not harming consumers. God damn it. He repealed the 2009 endangerment finding, the legal cornerstone of America's ability to regulate greenhouse gases under the Clean Air Act. Yes, that was Lee Zeldin. On a podcast, he described this as driving a dagger straight into the heart of the climate change religion. OM fucking God. What planet is this man from? He dismantled the scientific research arm of the EPA, and that makes me really fucking mad. Yeah, Laura, green light. I'm sorry, that's going to be like on record now that I've said that, haven't I? But this one, oh my God, this guy, he really boils my piss. Sorry, speak as I find. He cancelled $22 billion in environmental justice grants. He oversaw, no, not really, Laura. Sorry, I was just getting a bit excited. Red light. He oversaw the elimination of around 4,000 staff positions. Practically every significant action he has taken, though, is currently being challenged in court. Let's hope it's not the Supreme Court, because we know what happens there. That's where justice goes to die. I'm so sorry about my language. Yeah, if you're not up with the kind of fruity language, it's probably not the right place for you to be, because we speak as we find. And we find an awful lot of shit going on and fuckery in the United States of America and in other places, and we call out fuckery wherever we find it. So yeah, there's quite a lot of potty mouthedness, which is also a word because I just said it, so therefore it's a word. And yes, the red lights, for anyone who doesn't know the story, Laura's ready with her Harley and her shooter to go do some damage every time somebody really crosses the line in this administration. And we're here to keep her on the red light because we want to keep her. So much fuckery. So, shall we have a look at Mr. Zeldin? Oh, good. Oh, God, Kim, you are in the right place, my girl. Sorry, I'm assuming you're a girl, Kim. You could be a boy, Kim, or you could be neither, Kim, and we love you, whatever. But you're welcome here. Fit right in. So let's have a look at those audition performances, because we're all about the performances, right? Right. Zeldin's audition has been conducted from the comfort of the EPA, not the DOJ like Mr. Blanche, but it is an audition nonetheless. He's been a meticulous performer for the MAGA audience, constant Fox Business appearance. He does New York Post columns, social media posts by the dozen, and they're all designed to energize the MAGA base. And here's the thing legal experts are already warning about. Those posts are already being cited in court against the EPA. Judges have looked at what he said publicly and compared it to what the government lawyers were arguing in court and found them to be at odds. Who'd have thunk, right? A Georgetown law professor said it plainly. What Zeldin has done at the EPA and what Bondi did at the DOJ are, he said, very, very similar. The concern is that he would therefore use the Attorney General's office as a political performance space rather than a law enforcement institution. He voted against certifying the 2020 election results. He defended Trump during both impeachments. He is, to use the technical term, all the way in. Oh, yeah. Now, the practical problem with Lee Zeldin is, in terms of Senate confirmability, he's probably the smoothest option. He got through confirmation once already as EPA chief. Republicans broadly love him, but there is a complication. If Zeldin moves to the DOJ, someone has to replace him at the EPA. That means 2 Senate confirmation hearings, not just 1. And Trump is watching the midterms on the horizon and doesn't want to spend Senate capital twice if he can avoid it. Also, because there's always more, I want you to sit with this one. This is a man being seriously considered as the nation's top law enforcement officer, whose primary qualification for the role is that he systematically dismantled environmental protections and called climate science a religion. The law degree is real. The prosecutorial, easy for me to say, experience is not. So let's have a look at Lee's scorecard. Don't forget, for just a few tiny pence, which I know is really hard for everybody to find at the moment, you can get all of this with the scorecards and everything for paid subscribers after the show. I will post that up on the Substack. It's possibly worth a quid or two. I don't know. Ask the paid subscribers. They seem to keep coming back. So fingers crossed, you might like it. Otherwise, you just have to listen to me say it. So what's Lee Zeldin got in his favor? He is a genuine Trump loyalist. He, as I say, voted against certifying 2020 and defended him in both impeachments. That has a lot of capital where Donald Jessica is concerned. He's already Senate confirmed once, so there is less risk of him not being confirmed a second time. He's already jumped the relevant hurdles. Effective MAGA communicator, and we know how much Trump likes his MAGA loyalists to be able to communicate the party line to the masses. And Zeldin has shown that he is very apt at doing that. The prediction markets have currently got him as front runner, so that might be where you want to stick your billions if you're looking. I'm sorry, I couldn't advise you because I have inside information. It's called AI. And Trump has privately discussed Zeldin with advisors and already met with him after sacking Ms. Bondi. Yes, we do. We have a penile inflation specialist in charge of hantavirus and the guy who hacks off raccoon penises. I don't know what this obsession with penises is, but I've never, as an NHS worker, as a vaccinator, I've never come across this correlation between penises and virology or immunology or any ology. Is there a penology? I don't know. If there is, maybe that. Let's not worry about the Ebola emergency yet. It's still just an emergency over there. Ebola, really nasty, really horrible. Most people die from it, but it's never made it particularly far out of Africa. And if it has, it's usually through healthcare workers who've come into contact with it in those affected areas of Africa. We can do an Ebola, but I just don't think it's worth your mental energy at this moment in time. And don't forget, the good thing about Ebola, we've got a World Health Authority dealing with it. World Health Organization. They're dealing. They did declare it a global emergency today. They did. Yeah, they had a big summit where, oh my God, Russia were trying to throw their weight around. But that's a story for another day. They do. They fly out and it spreads. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, forget the CDC. They're impotent. They can't do anything. They've got the penis guy in charge. Anyway, so back to the topic. I'm going to stop reading your comments if you don't stop trying to distract me. I'm worse than Glenn. If I don't finish on time, we all know whose fault it is. This is another reason for moving to the Monday night slot for the longer explainers, because Glenn's on later, so we don't risk clashing quite so much. Okay. Working against Lee Zeldin. He's got no real prosecutorial or Department of Justice experience whatsoever. Moving him will require the 2 confirmation hearings, one for him and one for the new EPA chief, whoever they manage to drag out of the cupboard for that one. His public messaging style has already started causing legal problems. His own words are being used against the government in court. Not ideal for the top law enforcement official. Experts warn he is likely to continue and expand the Bondi era politicization of the Department of Justice. And he's publicly said the EPA is, quote, the best job I've ever had. So not sure how convincing the pivot would be to DOJ. Maybe that will be the next best job he's ever had. Who knows? But he's still the favorite, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Who would you like next? We've got 2 more, as if I couldn't guess. Anybody? Anybody got a preference for who we look at next? Shall we do a girl? Shall we do a lady? Shall we do a woman next? Shall we? Anybody got any favorites that they'd like me to look at who might be a contender? Sorry, what? Harmeet Dillon? You want me to look at Harmeet Dillon? Well, that's a scary coincidence because that's who I've got next. Let's look. So, she is currently the Assistant AG for Civil Rights, and she is the base's choice. The MAGA base love Harmeet because she has basically destroyed the Civil Rights Division, and they love that shit. So, who is Harmeet? She is 56 years old, born in Chandigarh, India. She's a Dartmouth and University of Virginia Law School graduate. She is an arsehat, Laura. That may be just our opinion, allegedly, but, you know, I've got receipts, so you decide. She spent years as a Republican National Committee woman for California and built a practice as a conservative legal activist. She was challenging COVID vaccine mandates, filing more than 10 unsuccessful lawsuits against California's voting programs and serving as a lawyer for the Trump campaign in the post-2020 election litigation, where she promoted fraud claims subsequently found to be unsubstantiated by dozens of courts. So that went well then. She ran in 2023 to replace Ronna McDaniel as the RNC chair. She lost. During that campaign, she faced racist backlash about her Indian heritage from within the Republican Party because that's who they are. She's also, and I feel this is important context, a knitter. Yeah, you heard right. She knits. She posts about her sweaters on Instagram. I respect this. I respect this a lot. Anybody crafty and creative, that is awesome. It doesn't, however, automatically qualify her to the position of Attorney General. Yeah. In April 2025, she was confirmed as Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights by 52 votes to 45. More than 75 civil rights organizations opposed her nomination. She has since overhauled the Civil Rights Division in ways that could charitably be described as a fundamental inversion of its purpose. If you want to know more about Harmeet, just ask Glenn, because he's as fond of her as we are. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not trying to drop anybody in it. I'm just saying, when it comes to how much we like Ms. Dillon, we're all on the pretty much same page. So, would you like the juicy stuff? Of course you would. That's why we're here. High crimes and misdemeanors for Miss Dillon. The Civil Rights Division of the United States Department of Justice was created in 1957 to protect the civil and constitutional rights of all Americans, particularly the most vulnerable. Under Ms. Dillon, it has been redesigned as a vehicle for protecting white Americans, combating what she calls woke ideology, and investigating anti-Semitism on college campuses. Now, clearly, see you later, Firehorse. I am white. I have nothing against white people. I have a lot against racist white people. You can fuck right off, and when you get there, fuck off some more. Anti-Semitism is appalling, disgusting, and should be outlawed wherever we find it. So that's a good thing. I mean, investigating it is a good thing, but not at the expense of every other type of hate crime. Here's what she's actually done. And we do not say it if we cannot show it. So all of this will be in the receipts for anyone who can find a couple of quid down the back of the sofa and subscribes. Come on, I gotta get you to hand over your cash somehow. Well, I don't have to, and you don't have to, because you know I'm reading it all out, so you've got it. Just watch the video back. But if you want to see it in the receipts, you can. So, what's she done? I don't know if she considers herself a white American, the good Pam, because, you know, Kash Patel. That's all I'm going to say. So what's she done? She's cancelled the consent decrees with the Minneapolis and Louisville police departments. These are the oversight agreements reached after the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. She's cancelled them. She's closed the Biden-era investigations into constitutional violations against 6 additional police departments, including Louisiana State Police, Memphis, Phoenix, and Trenton. She has withdrawn the DOJ's election-related lawsuits in Georgia, Virginia, and Alabama. Sorry, Miss Not Luma. including the challenge to Georgia's 2021 voting law that civil rights groups argued suppressed Black voter access. She's a peach, isn't she? You can see why we're all so very, very fond of her. But that's not all. She dropped, without any explanation, a lawsuit that was aimed at protecting migrant children from sexual abuse. I'll give you a moment. What a piece of legislation. Legislation wasn't going to be the first word I chose there. She's dropped all mention of the Fair Housing Act. That's the landmark 1968 law which prevents housing discrimination. And that's been dropped from all the division's mission statements. She has refused to investigate the fatal shooting of Renee Good, and that falls under her jurisdiction. 6 senior leaders of the criminal section resigned in protest at that decision. She's celebrated openly the mass departure of over 100 experienced career attorneys from the division, calling it, and you're gonna love this, not very much, a necessary realignment, and I quote. She's called her MAGA critics, quote, hoes, in a public social media meltdown. On a Sunday, as a senior United States government official, I'm not saying anything. I think, the receipts are doing an awful lot today. I don't need to form an opinion on Ms. Dillon. So, what's she got in her favour? Because she's got to have something, right? Well, massive backing from MAGA influencers. And those influences have Trump's ear. See you later, Igor. I think Glenn's usually at 9 p.m. your time, I think, usually. Hose, H-O-E-S, hose. And I don't think she means the gardening implement. So, yes, what else does she have in her favour? So she's got the MAGA influences. She's already inside the Department of Justice. So she knows the building, she knows the machinery, she knows the personnel, what personnel they've got left. She's demonstrated a total willingness to repurpose the Civil Rights Division for political ends. So it wouldn't be a massive leap to imagine her repurposing other areas of the Department of Justice for political ends. Bye, Tracy. From one Tracy to another. What else? She'll only require one confirmation hearing, and she is viewed by civil rights experts as the most dangerous pick, which sounds like that would go against her, but in this context is more of a recommendation when it comes to this job with this president. What goes against her? Apart from everything we've covered and everything she is and everything she's done, the MAGA base is also angry with her for not moving fast enough on overturning the January 6th prosecutions. She can't win that audience. Her public social media meltdown suggests she's not really temperamentally suited to the scrutiny of the top job, but I don't imagine that's going to count very strongly against her. Her Civil Rights Division work's already generated multiple legal defeats in Michigan, Massachusetts, and Oregon. And Trumpty Dumpty doesn't like to lose. So, that's not going to go down well. Hey, Gordon. We do. Thank you very much, Secretary Amy. Unpaid, but much loved Secretary Amy, who does her very best to keep me on track. I don't know when the public meltdown was. Did it say in my notes? It was on a Sunday. Does that narrow it down for you, Laura? It was on a Sunday. There you go. It's probably in the receipts, which you have access to being a paid subscriber. Am I milking this paid subscriber thing? I am, aren't I? I'll shut up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're here for the tea, not the check. That's what you call the bill, isn't it? Okay, so what else? Now, although she's already passed one confirmation hearing, it's gonna be brutal. I know you don't have my notes yet, silly. Just wait. Be patient, my darling. All good things come to those who wait. Her record so far is so extensive and so well documented of her being completely unsuited to the job that the Democrats in Congress should pick up on that. And, well, obviously not, what's his name? Fetterman? Is that his name? Oh, he's just another kettle of fish altogether. I digress. So, if Trump wanted her in the top role, she's arguably already where she's most useful, which is dismantling civil rights enforcement from the inside. So what mileage is there? What capital is there for Trump? Sorry, Amy. Thank you. Yes, all except Fetterman, who's just... I get that he had a stroke and that's awful, and I'm so glad that he's recovered, but seriously, did something happen to his brain? And I mean that with quite some sincerity. Anywho, yes. So if Trump wants to get the biggest bang for his buck, so to speak, she's kind of where she's going to do the most damage already. So he's not guaranteed that whoever steps in her place would do as an astounding job as she's doing. So that's where we stand. She's a bit of an outsider, but she's in the running. Oh my God. Right. Quickly type in the chat who you think the final candidate is in the running at the moment, in the circles that are talking about who might be up for the job. And I tell you, it's another woman. And oh my God, seriously, no. You think, I nearly said her name, you think Harmeet is completely unqualified. We've done Blanche, we've had what's his name? Lee Zeldin, and we've had Harmeet. There's one more who's in the top 4 front runners. She does have legal experience. I'll give you that clue. She does have public relations experience. Not Alina Habba. No, I think she's in enough trouble where she is. Pirro. Yeah. Well done, Amy. It's Judge Jeanine. Come on down. So, yes, well done, Pirro, well done, Gordon. Everybody's getting it now. Yeah. So, who is Judge Jeanine? As if she needs any introduction, right? She is 74 years old, and as I say, she's got genuine legal background, and doesn't she like to tell us all about it? I'm not a fan, Laura. We don't do hate because hate's very toxic, but if I were gonna hate somebody, I'm quite happy for it to be her. So, real legal background. She was assistant district attorney in Westchester County, New York. That's where she is now. First female judge elected to the Westchester County Court. First woman elected as Westchester County District Attorney and served 3 terms. She founded the first domestic violence unit in a prosecutor's office in the United States, and all kudos, credit where credit's due. She's the first female president of the New York State District Attorneys Association, and on paper, that's a serious resume. So then what happened? Well, as we all know, probably through rumor and via neighbors or people in the line at the drugstore, because I don't feel like we're a natural Fox News audience. But yes, she went to Fox News. She hosted Justice with Judge Jeanine from 2011 to 2022, during which she became one of Trump's most vocal and visible television supporters, amplifying baseless claims about, yes, you guessed it, the 2020 perfectly fair and perfectly just election, and not in any way, shape or form stolen, rigged, or any of the above. Her show was cancelled, though. Ah, see that? That's my world's tiniest violin playing for her there. All get your world tiny violins out for poor Judge Jeanine. Why was it cancelled? Well, she became a central figure in the Dominion voting system's defamation lawsuit against Fox News, the one that did for old Tucker. Internal Fox communications revealed that her own colleagues at Fox, not her enemies, her colleagues, her bosses, called her, you're gonna love this, Laura, are you listening? They called her, the people closest to her, they didn't call her a fucking idiot. They called her, even better, a reckless maniac. And I like that for her. And I am happy to support the line that Judge Jeanine is indeed a reckless maniac. I'm not going to say a drunk reckless maniac, because that would just be defamatory. And, nobody knows. Trump appointed her as interim U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C. in May 2025. The Senate confirmed her in August 2025 on a party line vote of 50 to 45. So it was another close one. Yeah, overwhelming success is not something that can be applied to quite a few of these Senate confirmations. So let's have a look at her audition performances, because they are really quite something, and we've seen them all, so I will just summarize the best bits. Her audition has probably been the most chaotic of the four, and that really is saying something, because we've looked at the other three already. As the US Attorney for DC, sorry, that's where she is now, the Westchester thing, that was where she started. You're following me, aren't you? Good. So as US Attorney for DC, she's been the public face of Trump's crackdown on crime in the district, overseeing armed troops and federal law enforcement officers patrolling DC neighborhoods. And don't you all feel safer for it? But you don't? Oh, that's a shame. Oh, that's almost as if it's a big fat waste of money. No, that's fine. We'll come back to that. Her office is the one that also launched a criminal investigation into everybody's favorite Federal Reserve Chair, J. Jerome Powell. Yes, the Federal Reserve Chair. Almost universally viewed as Trump attempting to use the justice system to pressure the independent central bank to lower interest rates, whether it sees soaring inflation or not. You just want the interest rates down. It's almost as if the idiots are running the asylum, but that would be an opinion and just speculative. A federal judge blocked key aspects of this investigation into Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Pirro announced plans to appeal, and she made some very colourful allegations about the judge's behaviour in this case. She filed a motion to vacate that appeal that she filed, walking the whole thing back just this month, while leaving Jerome Powell in legal uncertainty, which was, to use the technical term, a complete fucking mess. But we all know why she did that. Everybody say together, because what's his chops, the Republican in the Senate, wasn't going to approve the new guy in the Fed chair position, if they didn't stop this ludicrous prosecution. But it has to be a little bit vague and murky and muddy so that once he's safely installed as the new Fed chair, they can go back and ruin Jerome Powell's life some more just because he was trying to behave in a fiscally responsible manner. Can you believe it? The chair of the Federal Reserve behaving in a fiscally responsible manner? I don't know, whatever next. Got to stamp that out. Amy or Chris or somebody or Gordon, they'll know who the new Fed chair is. It's all gone through. Everything's fine and wonderful. You know, Fetterman voted in favor of him, and the other guy, the Republican, he said, okay, fine. Oh, you're not doing it anymore. I completely trust you and believe everything you say. So that's fine. I'm happy to support that nomination. Her trial record in DC has also been, how do I say this generously? Mixed. In the first 8 criminal trials of 2026, her office won 4. That's a 50% strike rate, which is well below the national average. When CNN asked about this, she said repeatedly, hogwash. That's a direct quote from Judge Jeanine. Hogwash. The U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia said hogwash to a reporter on camera. Wash, that's it. Well done, team. And I believe he's been confirmed now, and it's all super and lovely and dandy. And, you know, let's forget there was any bother going on and any upset or disturbance. It's all gone through, so that's great. The Republican who stood up for Powell. Oh yeah, we need his name because it's gone right out of my head and it's not coming back. But he's got nothing to lose because he's finishing, isn't he, in January or January 27, I think. That would be January, wouldn't it? We're in 2026. I'm still in 2024 in my head, so just bear with me. So, what does Jeanine have in her favor? I know, nothing, you're all screaming, but you'd be wrong. You'd be wrong. Kinda. She is really the only candidate with genuine prior prosecutorial experience at scale, which is in itself a worry. That the least suitable of the top 4 is the only one with genuine prior prosecutorial experience of any great depth. Let that settle. She's already in post as the DC US Attorney and therefore Senate confirmed. I know, we're scraping now. Maximum loyalty signal. She has publicly humiliated herself for Trump for years and kept smiling. The wine's got to help, I imagine, allegedly, in my opinion. Trump clearly likes her and trusts her performative loyalty, and however disgusting that feels as something in her favor for getting the top law enforcement job in the United States of America, it's a real factor. And the Powell investigations. It demonstrates she will use the law as a political weapon without hesitation. She is probably the best guarantee of getting the dirty work that the executive wants doing done. So, what's working against her apart from everything? Yeah, no, I'll just leave it at that, everything. But more specifically, well, you've got the fact that her own Fox News bosses called her a reckless maniac. That will, I guarantee, be read into the congressional record at confirmation if she gets to that point. The 50% trial win rate in DC that we already mentioned is a serious liability for someone auditioning as the nation's top prosecutor. So half the cases that she is going to prosecute on behalf of the country are likely to fail, statistically speaking, based on past performance. She is also the named defendant in the Smartmatic defamation case, which is another one of those voting machine companies. So she's going in to the whole thing very exposed, legally speaking. The Powell investigation was widely seen as massive overreach and was eventually blocked by a federal judge, which she did not mince her words about. I forget what she called him, but it was something ridiculous. Not radical. It was even worse. I forget. If anybody remembers what she called the federal judge, pop it in the chat. At 74 years old, without wishing to be ageist, there are questions about longevity and stamina when it comes to Senate questioning in terms of her confirmation. So it is a factor, but, you know, clearly at the moment, we're quite happy to have octogenarians running the country. So, you know, she's got a good few years left in her. But if anything is going to play most against her, it is the fact that she might be more useful to Trump where she is, again, like Harmeet Dillon. She's in DC doing the dirty work without the national spotlight on her, and that could be very lucrative for one Donald Jessica. So, why is Trump in no hurry to speed this whole thing along? Well, I mean, it's such a difficult choice, isn't it? You shouldn't have a favorite. And with those four, it's really, really hard to pick a favorite because they're all fucking awful. But that is just my opinion. So, why else might he be playing the waiting game other than the fact that they're all just so absolutely lovely and highly qualified, and credit to the legal profession and the current administration? Well, we've met the contestants, so now let's talk about the game, because the game's not who gets the job. I know, we thought it was, right? Silly us. The game is the waiting. As of the day of recording, the leading prediction on every major market is not Zeldin, not Blanche. The best odds, I mean, the highest probability, the highest level of on the prediction markets, the biggest number, that's what I'm trying to say, is for no announcement by June the 30th. 41% of traders believe that Trump will not name a permanent attorney general before the end of June. That's not because Trump's indecisive. Donald Trump is many, many things, none of which I could say here, and they would all be my opinion. Indecisive, though, is not one of them when it comes to things like this. He is waiting because waiting works in his favor. Every day Blanche is in the chair as acting attorney general is a day Trump has a fully compliant DOJ without needing Senate approval for anything new. Every day the candidates are publicly auditioning, they are publicly compromising themselves, their statements are on the record, their performances are on video. Trump now owns those performances, and by extension, he owns them. The longer the wait, the more desperate the performers become. The more they will say, the more they will do, the more deeply they will compromise any future independence from the esteemed leader. When a name is finally announced, the person walks into the attorney general job already indebted, exposed, and captured. They will know what happened to Bondi, unceremoniously, portrait in the bin dismissal, and they will govern accordingly. They will be everything Donald Jessica wants them to be. He's also watching the midterms. If the Republicans lose the Senate, then confirmation will become dramatically harder. So timing matters, but on his schedule, not theirs, never theirs. To be honest, this isn't an unusual management style. This is quite a calculated strategy of maintaining leverage over the most powerful law enforcement office in the country by keeping its permanent leadership in a permanent state of audition anxiety. And it works. It works beautifully. Just look at them every time they get in front of a camera, right? So, the conclusion. A cautionary conclusion when it comes to the rule of law. And I promised you a cautionary conclusion, so here it is. I'm sorry in advance that it's not going to be more comfortable, more reassuring. The Attorney General of the United States is, constitutionally and in practice, the head of the federal government's law enforcement. The position exists, or is supposed to exist, to enforce the law impartially, to prosecute crimes regardless of who commits them, to represent the United States, not the president, to be, in the words of every AG confirmation hearing ever held, the people's lawyer. Look at the 4 candidates. Are you all still here? I'm not seeing anything going on in the chat. Somebody let me know if you're all still here. I mean, I'll carry on talking regardless, but it's just nice to know if there's anyone out there. So, of the 4 candidates, one is Trump's former personal criminal defense attorney, currently withholding millions of pages of documents in a case where his own conduct may be at issue, who attacked his department's former prosecutors on social media using his own government platform. I'm just checking to see. Oh, why is the live timer stopped? When did I lose you all? 1 hour 18. Oh, quite some time ago. Well, that's odd, isn't it? Let's see if you're still here. No, something's happened, hasn't it? Okay, let's end that. What's happened? Something's end. I don't know if you can see me faffing about, but I don't see any chat. The timer stopped at 1 hour 18. Trying to end it.